Good morning, Rory.
Good morning, Tellman.
How's it going, dude?
It is, man. It was going good until I picked up my coffee and see that there's nothing but grounds on the top. That's no good.
Ooh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
So no coffee for today's show, but
Well,
things are
come
good,
on.
man.
You can drink coffee with grounds in it. Man up. Jesus
You think
Christ.
so?
Are you
All right.
serious?
Wow. All
We're on
right.
the Get Shit Done show. We're not on the pretty boy. I don't want to get grains of coffee in my teeth show.
Fair enough. All right. Fuck it. Let's go.
Come on. You said you like the outdoors. You need some cowboy coffee up in there.
Dude, I never said I like the outdoors. My
Yeah,
idea.
you did. You said the other day that you were so amazed by the glorious beauty of the outdoors and you really need to get outside.
Well, yes, like outside in my neighborhood in the grass. Like when you say outdoors, I think of camping, and no,
Dude,
no.
we're gonna take you camping this summer.
No,
we're
no,
gonna
listen.
go on a technology-free camping adventure.
Oh God, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Number
dude.
one, no, we're not going anywhere because
We're
the
gonna
last
pump it up in the woods.
dude, listen, the last time I followed one of your crazy ideas, I actually went running in a blizzard in Hartford, or well, actually it was Glastonbury, but no,
Yeah, I
it's
remember
dumb.
that was an impressive feat. It was good. It was good.
No.
Dude, what's your positive focus this morning?
Finished out
in your coffee.
Yeah. Finished out the weekend strong, going to all 3 days of my daughter's volleyball tournament. She played amazing. They placed third in the highest bracket for their age group, which was awesome.
Yep.
I think best of all, we had a really, really quality father-daughter conversation about dealing with curveballs in life when things don't go your way and how to make the best of them. And she was very receptive to it. So it was awesome.
That's good because they'll keep coming, those curveballs.
That's damn right. Damn right.
You can count on that.
How about you? Give me some positive focus, although I have a feeling I know what it's going to be.
You have no idea what it's going to be.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's possible you do, but it would be really weird if you did. I'd be like, dude. So I had a phone call last night with my buddy Jeff Levine, and I was driving. It was a late night phone call while I was driving to the airport. My girlfriend came in at 1 o'clock in the morning, so I had a late night drive, and Jeff has been perhaps the number one fan of the Get Shit Done show in the greater. I don't know that he's been on our episodes yet, Rory, but he commented. He said you're a potty mouth, and no, he likes you. He likes you. And Jeff is a hot sauce maker. He has a business called Silk City Hot Sauces. And I did this podcast episode on this comedy podcast a few weeks ago, and it was a podcast about hot sauce, and they asked for a special guest to talk about spicy food, and I jumped on, and it was hilarious, and I got a bunch of Get Shit Done members from it, and it was cool. And during the episode, I mentioned that my buddy Jeff had just dropped some hot sauce off at my doorstep an hour earlier, which he had.
Yep.
And anyway, Jeff was available, and we speaker phoned him into the Discord, and he made the episode, and he did an episode himself with them a week later.
That's
okay,
awesome.
now you're gonna like this, dude. Turns out Jeff becomes a sponsor for their show. Okay, with his hot sauce. But you know how he does it?
Tell me.
He does it by giving them an affiliate link to promote his hot sauce. And now they earn 20% on promoting his hot sauce. And they're making all these crazy ads for their show. And Jeff is making money from hot sauce. It's completely ridiculous. And so Jeff has been part of the kind of stand-up improv comedy world online kind of for a while, and mostly as a consumer, like as a viewer, but he's been like meeting with and connecting all these guys in the comedy podcast world. He's white labeled or private labeled a bunch of hot sauces for a bunch of comedians. Okay, it's kind of a weird niche, right? And Jeff comes up with this idea to introduce me to a comedian friend of his who lives in New York City. and is part of a group of a dozen other comedians. And he wants me to hypnotize one of the comedians to help them be more successful. And the way they do their shows is they all have their own podcasts. It's like reality TV, except they're comedians. And so they're always like, messing with each other and creating these dramatic storylines between all of them on all their different podcasts and all these things. So Jeff hatches this plan for me to be a special guest hypnotist on this comedian show. And he calls the comedian and he sets the deal up, and then he pitches it to me. And I'm like, I'll give this a go and see where it goes. So I think what's going to happen is I think I'm going to end up being a guest hypnotist on a comedy podcast. And I think I'm going to hypnotize the comedian. Nice. I think is how this is going to go. And it's all a result of the Get Shit Done show.
That is fantastic. And you are correct. I had no flipping clue at all what your positive focus was. I just assumed it would be that your girlfriend came back into town, but
well,
I mean, she's part of the story.
It's true. It's true.
It's fascinating. And I do love this, right? So this is where my mind goes. You're an odd guy. You're an odd guy. And there's never just like positive focus. Yeah, my girlfriend's back home. It's awesome. I picked her up. We got to spend some quality time together last night. And I heard, no, yours went like ping, 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 ping. And it's a fascinating story.
It's true.
But this is Monday morning at 9:18. And we're just already all over the place. I love it. It's fantastic.
It's true. So I'm stoked about connections, new opportunities, entering new worlds, new like cultures and pockets of people. It's fascinating. Yeah. How about you, Rory? What you got?
That was fascinating. I gave you mine. My daughter's.
Oh, you already gave me yours. That's true. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I could try to string together a ping pong version, but
no, we have time for that later.
All right, so let's talk, man. We got some stuff to cover.
Yeah, so I wrapped up my promo for workwithtellman.com, and I'm gonna share with you a little secret, Rory, is that I haven't redirected the page yet. So the sale's over.
Dude, hold on. How well do I know Tellman? Because as you said, I wrapped up my promo. I literally was typing in workwithtellman.com.
Yeah.
And before I could see whether or not you redirected it, you answered, I haven't redirected it yet.
I didn't redirect it yet, but it's redirecting immediately after this show. And that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk with you about. I have a couple ideas for where I'm going to redirect it to, but I haven't made the final decision. So if you're still trying to squeeze in last minute, consider yourself lucky. If you go to workwithtellman.com, you can still sign up for a private one-on-one hypnosis session at name your own price, and you get 5 extraordinary bonuses that'll help supercharge your mind and improve your money mindset. So nice. Workwithtellman.com. But yeah, so we're talking about procrastination here today, and human beings are fascinating in terms of how we respond to outside pressure, how we respond to outside urgency, even to do things that we want to do for ourselves and that we've committed to doing for ourselves. We will still hem and haw and dig our heels in and do everything we possibly can to avoid action until the last possible minute.
Yeah.
So all month I've been promoting the name your own price, pay what you want, pay what it's worth to you, private hypnosis session with Tellman Knudsen. I've been doing them since November in 3 separate push promos, and then I just opened it up. And for the entire month, a little bit longer, I've last 30, 45 days, I've just been open-ending promoting Work with Tellman, and I've been getting a steady but lower than I would have expected number of people to actually book their sessions. and I just looked at the numbers. 80% of the revenue came in the last 4 days. 80% of the revenue from any of the private session related stuff or any of the upsells or any of that sales process came in the last 4 days from that promo. Okay. And it wasn't a situation where a whole bunch of people came in and lowballed me. A whole bunch of people came in and paid a significant amount for their session and then bought all the upsells. And but waiting until that last possible minute to do it, even though it was completely something for each and every one of my clients, is a piece to the puzzle. There is a element of outside, we call it accountability, but when outside forces are present, more often than most of us would like to admit, we jump, we move when we have someone else either giving us something special if we move now, or there's a consequence if we don't move now, ideally both, right?
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's amazing how we respond to these things. And so your topic of today was procrastination, and what's the difference in habits between a wildly successful multi-million-dollar entrepreneur and someone who's struggling to get by. And the thing is that's within all of us, like we all have the capability of doing both of those things. And so what is the difference? And there are some key differences that I've noticed. There's still a lot that I'm learning,
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts about this?
I have a couple thoughts, but I actually want to steer us in a different direction for a second, because you mentioned something about, with procrastination or with these promotions, right? We've been talking about these promotions where we need that external force to take care of ourselves. And this is in direct contrast now to what I told my daughter on either Friday night or Saturday morning. So she plays a very, very specialized position in volleyball.
Yeah.
It's called the libero. And this year, the coach brought on another libero. So now my daughter is fighting for her position, whereas last year it was just hers. And she made a comment about how, and she's probably going to kill me for saying this publicly. So I'll leave the comment out, but there was it had,
that was good, Rory. That was
right?
good.
You see that filter
impressive.
I thought about. So
yeah,
so basically it has to do with confidence.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, confidence actually has to come from within.
Right.
You have to believe in I really do believe that. Like, I think confidence can be fed to you by a feedback loop of external forces. Like when you do a good job and you're rewarded for that, or you're recognized for it, that can help feed a feedback loop inside you. But I do think that confidence has to come, like rock solid confidence, I believe, has to come from within. But here we are saying that to help ourselves in certain circumstances, we need that external push. So I guess where I'm trying to go with this is, how do you make sense of the difference between internal for one thing and external for another?
Yeah, well, I like to think that I'm super awesome, right? That I have incredible willpower, that I'm a wicked badass, that I can do all these, like I've done a bunch of crazy shit that most people wouldn't even try to do. But there are people who are like so far beyond anything I've even considered doing that, so there's a spectrum here. But at the same time, even though I can have pushed myself to do some ridiculous things and have accomplished some amazing things, I've realized something about myself, which is when it comes to the completion of most tasks, I need a babysitter. And it's absurd. It pisses me off to no end. Is like, I'm so easily distracted that when I have some sort of outside force, and it's not, for me, consequence doesn't really matter to me most of the time. Like, I have to force myself to think about the bad things that are going to happen if I don't do something. Like, I don't worry about stuff, generally speaking, too much. to a fault, right? I'm usually focused on the dream or the creation. I underestimate the amount of time that it's going to take by a long shot, the amount of money that it's going to take, the amount of effort that it's going to take, the number of iterations that it's going to take, but it doesn't matter to me. Yeah. Like, I don't care how long it's going to take. It doesn't, that part doesn't really affect me. And so, so one of the ways that I make up with the difference is I know that I'm easily distracted. So setting up meetings like what we're doing right now, basically from 9 to 10, if we go long, 9 to 10:30 is get shit done time. Okay. And right now I'm doing that with you. I'm doing that with Curtis. I'm doing that with Eric on a rotating schedule. And hallelujah, I'm live streaming every single day. It's episode 69, 7 days a week. Like, beat that. You can't. It's awesome. You know, and I'm feeling better and more confident with every episode that I do. I'm like, this rocks. And it's like the best part of my day, right? Yep. That I can have any direct influence over, you know? And so I guess part of this, when we talk about procrastination, and you know, I had 3 hypnosis clients yesterday, and one of them was very focused on overcoming procrastination, and she was having an extremely difficult time. She was actually checking into rehab today. Wow. She was hooked on a series of substances that you don't want to be on, and having a real, you know, like, and going through it. And so she was dealing with massive procrastination, and that was the number one thing she wanted to address, was procrastination. And I said, well, what are you procrastinating on? She's like, you name it. I'm procrastinating on everything. And so the issue with procrastination is that we get down on ourselves about what we're not doing, but the thing is that we're always procrastinating. So you, Rory, and I both have a list of easily 5,000 action items that we could be doing right now in our lives that would make our lives better, that are high priority, that are important, that we're not doing right now. Instead, we're on the show, right? And so my experience is that procrastination is a constant. It's a constant. And so it's not really about procrastination, it's about prioritization. Is where are you going to put your mind and where are you going to put your focus? And the same is true with confidence, right? We can imagine all the things that are great about ourselves or all the things that are terrible about ourselves. We can go into detail on it. You know, we can imagine it very vividly. So we get to choose kind of that internal dialogue, but the external dialogue influences the internal dialogue, right? Especially as kids, the stuff that we hear from our parents, the stuff that we hear from our siblings, the stuff that we hear from our friends, and the stuff that we hear from, you know, kids at school, and these days more than ever, our phones and whatever device you're spending your life, you know, wasting away staring into mindlessly. All of that stuff really influences the internal dialogue and what we believe about ourselves. And once that's set in at a young age, people spend a lifetime trying to rewrite that stuff, you know, and set it right. So I think external and internal are both really a big piece with confidence, Rory. But yeah, I mean, is that an answer to your question?
Yes and no. I mean, I guess, you know, bottom line is yes. I mean, it is an answer. I don't know if it was the answer that I was looking for particularly or anticipated, but it's still a very interesting stream of consciousness that provides a good discussion.
Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go with this? Like,
there's nowhere we need to go. It was just a thought that popped up. So if we go back to what you asked me, is, you know, what do I think about procrastination and success habits? You were talking about different things. I mean, yeah, distractions. How about this? I'll throw this out there. One, because again, my head is just racing right now with thoughts that I can't even spit out fast enough. I don't understand fear of success, right? And that's a big one that people say can get in the way, that breeds procrastination. Like, you're afraid of success. I understand fear of failure. Like, oh, if I do this, it may not work. But I don't understand, I'm afraid of this because it might work.
Okay. Well, so let's just take off the I'm afraid of this because part for a second. Let's just talk about fear in general for a
Okay.
moment, right?
Sure.
So when you're afraid of something, Rory, I mean, and there can be what we would call rational fears and irrational fears, but like at the end of the day, fear is a fear. It doesn't matter whether it's irrational or not, right? Whether it makes sense or not, or even if you can trace it back. I mean, I recently just had a client for fear of flying, right? And I've worked with many clients over the years for fear of flying, but it had been a while. And and sometimes there are specific reasons people develop a fear of flying, and sometimes it just occurs and builds over time, right? So when you are afraid of something, what are you actually afraid of? Like what's an example, either recently or in the past? It could be even the distant past, where you experience some fear.
Interesting. I'm actually now caught in my head very intellectually on this, figuring out like what is fear.
No, but like when is a time that you were afraid? Like just a real example, practical example.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to spit this out for you. I promise. I'd say like one of my weaknesses is usually around fear of not having enough money to pay the bills and keep the roof over my head.
Okay. And why are you afraid of that?
Once upon a time ago, I'm happy to say I'm free of this part, but once upon a time ago, it was very much tied to my self-worth.
Totally.
Yeah. If I can't make ends meet, it's a reflection of who I am, what I'm capable of doing, decisions that I've made, I've screwed up, my fault. Yeah.
Yeah, my self-worth is completely tied up with how much money I make. Like this, despite all my best efforts, it's a serious thing, right? So, but when you say you're afraid of, like, and if you have something more specific, like more in your face, that would be good. But when you say that you're afraid of not being able to pay the bills, right? Not having a roof over your head, what are you actually afraid of? Like you're currently in a house with your family, right? So are you? I mean,
that Tellman, that's the interesting thing is it's like I paused. Is that really fear, or is that just a worry? Is that stress? Is that self-worth? I don't know. Like I'm trying to untangle this, live, if you will. Because the best direction of fear is, let's say, I'm out in the jungle and there's a lion staring down at me, and I'm afraid that the lion is going to kill me. That's
great.
fear.
That's great. So that's also mortal danger. So that's on a slightly higher level. But I would suggest in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, fear comes from fear of change,
Okay.
or some sort of trauma reaction based on something really intense that happened in the past. Okay. And so, if we're talking about fear of change, not knowing what life will be like on the other side of that fear, should it come to pass, not knowing, like, okay, well, if I lose all my money and I lose my house and I can't feed my family, I'll probably lose my wife, I'll probably lose my family, I'll probably lose my health, I'll probably end up on the street, destitute, whatever. Like, we can go all down all these pathways, but and they're all possible. Like, we all know they're possible, anything's possible. But on the other hand, every now and again in the internet marketing world, there's somebody that comes from like a really bad situation and blows up, right? And like whether it's somebody that was in jail, and ended up turning, as an ex-con and totally turned their life around or whatever. And often these guys have a very different attitude about how hard they're going after it. It's kind of like they've already really been at the bottom, and now they're building back up. And so there's less fear. You're more fearless. They've already kind of been through it and back again. Point being, Rory, is change and fear of the unknown, not knowing what lies ahead, is a huge piece. And most people who, in the case of money, most people who don't have enough money or don't have as much money as they want are often very resentful of the people that do. And when you're very resentful of the people that do, and you don't really like them because they have more than you do, and you think about what it would be like to be successful, then you start feeling resentful to yourself, right? And so it's a different financial bracket, it's a different level, it's a different lifestyle. People are afraid that their friends aren't going to like them if they make more money. People are afraid that their family isn't going to like them if they make more money, and that's largely because their experience very often is that those very same people are holding them back from achieving higher levels of success, because they are receiving messages from those people to stay within what you know, do what you know. When everything's going wrong, do what works. Do what's always worked before. Take the safe route. Don't go rolling the dice. Don't go taking risks. People like to keep their friends, their family safe. It's what we like to do. So the whole fear of success or fear of failure, it's all the same. It's fear of the unknown. It's fear of change. And after you've dealt with the change a bunch of times and you can get through it and it's not that big a deal, where's the fear? It's gone. And now you're able to go skydiving anytime you want without freaking out. Same idea.
Interesting. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. So the one of the cool parts about hypnosis is when people have a fear of success or a fear of failure or a fear of flying or a fear of ants. I once hypnotized my daughter to get over a ant phobia that she developed when she was very young. It's
interesting.
You can run through that experience in hypnosis and have it be a pleasurable, fun, energetic, positive experience, and suddenly the fear is gone, and you can actually look forward to these things instead, right? So walking people through a vivid visualization or a series of visualizations of what their future is going to be like when they've achieved the success that they want to achieve. That's a great way of removing fear, just because you're creating a vivid reality of what it's going to look like, rather than being afraid of how it's going to turn out.
Interesting.
Yep. That's my opinion on fear. What do you think about that shit, Rory?
I like it. I dig it.
Are you afraid to give the world a little commercial right now?
No, let's
Good.
do a commercial. What you
Let's do a
got?
commercial break. No, you should do a commercial break for your stuff.
Well, shit, if you want to get over your fear of creating terrible ads and writing hundreds of hooks, come on a journey with me and you'll see pure imagination. I want to sing now. But seriously, go to brutallyhonestadreviews.com/GSD, brutallyhonestadreviews.com/GSD, and I will show you how to create ads that work the first time.
Boom. Awesome. Go join. Follow Rory. Change your ads.
Right.
What about you with procrastination, Rory? What is your own relationship with the things that you get done versus the things that you know full well that you avoid, and how do you address that, or how do you not address that?
Good question. So I don't like I'll talk this out. There are times where I make a bigger deal out of something I need to get done than is really there. So I think it's gonna. So maybe it's I overestimate. Right? You were saying earlier you underestimate.
Right.
In times of procrastination, I overestimate the amount of time or bandwidth that needs to go into it, so that kind of freezes me up. And then when I sit down and actually do it, I'm like, well, gee, that was easy.
Right.
That why was that such a big deal? Um, and part of the reason I'm struggling right now to give you a specific is that I don't find myself in a state of procrastination. Like I'm in this flow of get shit done, get shit done, get shit done. So it's tough to think about procrastination. Um, I don't know if that's unique to me, but like I'm so focused now on getting shit done.
Well, that's the whole thing about that's the example of where procrastination doesn't actually exist, but because it's a constant, right?
Yeah.
It's just, look, when the cure for procrastination, I mean, it sounds so cheesy, but the cure for procrastination is prioritization.
Yeah.
You know, like decide what you got to get done and schedule it in, and chances are it'll get done. That's it. It's
Yeah.
not complicated. If you want to get in better shape, schedule in working out more. That's it. That's the secret formula. You want to know like how to do it even better is schedule it in to meet somebody else and do the workout together. If that doesn't work, pay someone to meet someone else and do the work. Pay a coach and get together and work out together. So that's the whole thing. Is when you are in flow and when you're pushing it forward and when you're working on a dream, when you're working on a vision, then you find the time, right? You find ways of squeezing in the time to move your projects forward. But what about when you fall off the horse, Rory?
Yeah. So, I think I shared recently on one of the shows that, I definitely, maybe it was just a conversation with someone. Fuck, I don't know. But like I definitely deal with depression. So procrastination can come very easy to me when my mood is more depressed. It's just like, what's the point? Why do I bother? All that negative self-talk rather than getting shit done because I feel, and again, maybe we're going back to fear, right? What does it matter? Because if I do this, it's still going to be the same fucking outcome. Nothing's going to change.
Right. So when you are more depressed and not feeling motivated and feel like you're procrastinating, what are some techniques that you've found personally to help you pull your head out of your ass?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing is leaning into it and giving myself some grace. Because when I'm in that negative state, I could force myself to do shit and it's just not going to get done.
Right.
And if I really have to lean into it, right? Like, let's say I'm really leaning into it, I'm giving myself grace. I'm going to look at an activity that requires low energy, I suppose. So for instance, if I'm in a depressed state or I'm not feeling up to where I need to be, writing copy is probably not the best use of my time because I'm just going to sit there and spin my wheels and get nothing done and get more pissed off or frustrated. So what can I do? What are sort of like the busy tasks or the smaller tasks
Right.
that I can get done off of my to-do list? And I'm not even talking about like self-help motivation of do the smaller things and then you'll feel better. Like, no, I can be in a shit mood. Let's get some smaller things done and let's tackle the bigger stuff when I'm in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
Cool. Yeah. I find that so often if I don't get into a very negative frame of mind for an extended period of time for very long. But when I do, I usually realize that I'm not running on a regular basis, for starters. like oh yeah, I should get my ass up early in the morning and go for a run. All of a sudden the world's a much better place. I mean it's so silly, but it's so true. I've really found that, yeah, as I'm getting older, I'm finding learning how to create more structure and discipline and routine in my life is becoming very helpful.
Yep.
Whereas I was completely resistant to that for so much of my life, and so it's interesting. I'm starting to embrace it now.
That's interesting. And I definitely can relate. I remember when people told me, you need to schedule in this, you need to schedule in that. And I was so adverse to it. Like I wouldn't even set up a calendar, like a Calendly link to give people. People would be like, well, just give me a calendar link. And I'm like, no, we'll schedule it.
Right. That's helpful.
Yeah. Like I don't want something else controlling me. But the funny thing is everything controlled me. Everything.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everything was controlling you if you don't use the tools,
Yeah.
That's the thing. Cool, man. Well, guys, so yeah, you should definitely go check out Brutally Honest Ad Reviews if you want to learn how to write ads. This episode hasn't really been about ads. It's more about overcoming procrastination, getting shit done. And there is one surefire way to overcome procrastination. There is one surefire way to increase your productivity. There is one surefire way to get shit done. You know what that is, Rory?
I'm going to go work with Tellman.com.
It's not, though. You can squeeze over there. You can squeeze over there and you can still book a session. That's fully coming down today. It said it was going to end at midnight. So it's coming down today. You can get a hypnosis session for free today. Actually, you can get a recorded hypnosis session for free. It's one of my best-selling hypnosis sessions, and you might be able to guess what it's called. It's called the Get Shit Done session. And when you join our community at getshitdone.com, you're going to get a bunch of really great things. But one of the things that you're going to get is the Get Shit Done session. We sell it every day. You can get your copy for free because you're hearing this episode. Getshitdone.com. Go check it out. Join the community. Take part in the revolution. It's time to get shit done. That's what I have to say about that. Yeah. Rory, anything else you want to touch on before we wrap?
Yeah, man. I feel like, we've talked about a couple things, but I don't know we talked about what I had really wanted to explore a little bit with you.
Let's dig into it a little bit.
Yeah. So one of the things that fascinates me is, of course, your past, right? Like Tellman from 2006 to 2000 and was it 10ish?
It depends on what we're talking about.
Well, the success of your internet marketing business, building that up to several million a year.
Yeah.
And I may not have alluded to everything, but like one of my favorite stories of Tellman from those days, Kyle always used to lovingly tell me that, for the business to really thrive, you needed to be out meeting people, doing things. AKA, if you ever showed up at the Tell Mansion and came into the basement for a meeting, they would fucking throw you out so that they could get shit done. Is that so? Is that true?
I mean, to a certain extent. There was a point where everyone was very frustrated because this is classic entrepreneurial idiocy, but you start a company and you're like, cool, I'm really smart. I started a company, and then like everybody's going to do what I say and everybody's going to do things my way. And to get the company going and launched, that's kind of how it works.
Yep.
But then at a certain point, you have some skilled people, you have some experienced people, you have some people who are on payroll who actually care about their jobs, and you got to let go. And you got to let them do their thing and see where it goes. Good, bad, ugly. People have to have their own experiences, have their own discoveries, fuck a bunch of shit up, break a bunch of stuff. Even if it's on me to foot the bill, that's part of the growth process.
Yeah. And just for the record, real quick, Tellman.
Yeah.
I'm saying this to paint you negatively.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, I get it. I remember the situation very clearly, which is they were trying to, my team would be like trying to organize and plan a project, plan a meeting. And like, I'd come in and tangent the whole thing. I could completely sideline it with some new idea that I just had while I was out for a run that had nothing to do with their meeting, but for some reason it was more important to me.
Yep.
And so like I just come in and disrupt everything with a bunch of great sounding ideas and energy and all this stuff and authority, I might add. But that unfortunately would also disrupt the more linear, organized process that the team was going through to try to get shit done in a more stable and reliable way than I might normally do it.
Yeah, got it. All right. So now I'm going to put you on the hot seat, so to speak, and try to make you be a little bit vulnerable. And in turn, as I'm sitting here thinking about this, I'll share a little bit of vulnerability with you too, equally for the story or what I'm about to ask you. So looking at, sort of where you are right now, what you're doing, what you're accomplishing, thinking about, your financial situation of where you've been, where you are, where you want to be. What are some differences were during that time when you were running a multi-million-dollar company versus today? Like, do you see differences in who Tellman was then versus today? Do you recognize that person? Are you that person today?
It's interesting. Yeah. So situationally, like the things that my time is allocated to right now is radically different than where I was putting my time when Overcome Everything was in its steepest growth curve, right? So I had one very young child when Overcome Everything was blowing sky high.
Mm-hmm.
I was married. We had a nanny. I had a bunch of staff that were coming in and out of the house. Often I had a cook that was working for me to make meals. So I had I had a lot of support, and that built up over time as the business grew and we were making more money. I hired and brought on more support, probably more than I should have.
Okay.
But I was also still in my 20s, my late 20s when this started popping. And so I was an inexperienced father. I was inexperienced, I mean, in the greater, I wasn't inexperienced in a marriage, but I was inexperienced. I guess I was actually, because technically I wasn't married yet, but I'd been in a long-term relationship for many years. And so I wasn't really putting my focus on raising my son, really. Like I was there, but I wasn't focused on spending as much quality time as I possibly could with my son. A few years later, my daughter came, and then so then we had two kids, right? And so the amount that I have come to value my time with my kids has greatly increased over the years, like dramatically. After going through divorce and all these types of things, my time with my kids became much more sacred, much more important than making money to me. And so that's a piece. My motivations definitely shifted and changed, as did my personal life, right? So working from home 24/7 on an internet company with a partner who's in the business, like it's just a totally different setup. And then essentially running a business, have the kids half time, etc. And so that's really different. Another big difference is that Mark Joyner called me out on this early on, is that especially when I was younger, I really had something to prove.
Okay.
you know? And so I did that. And so I don't really want to prove the same thing again. So it's like my foot, like, what am I trying to accomplish next? What's the next big goal? You know, and there was a point with Overcome Everything where, yeah, it got to the point where I was, you know, we were making millions and millions and millions of dollars, and like adding another $1 million to the annual revenue just didn't matter to me. It no longer mattered. And so, I was more looking for the challenge, for the excitement, for something new, for a new challenge, or something to tackle, to figure out a new problem to solve, than I was looking for like slow, steady, consistent financial growth.
That's fascinating.
So I'm trying to train myself to be more interested in slow, steady, consistent financial growth. But the reality is I'm not like actually that interested in it. You know, and so I'm trying to, I'm more interested in the exploration of new ideas and trying new things and seeing what works and what doesn't. Sometimes that yields enormous financial payoff, and sometimes it's a total waste of time.
So you're of like what I guess what I'm there's a lot of things I'm hearing, and there's so much I want to unpack. But with that last comment you made, it's almost like Tellman is more interested, and this is such a bad metaphor because you're not athletic except for running. But it's like Tellman is swinging to hit a home run every fucking time, and base hits are just boring.
Yeah. And I'm slowly over time beginning to appreciate them a little bit, but
yeah. So this is fascinating. And then, I'll share my story of what I said. I'll be a little vulnerable, as well. And so thank you for that, Tellman, because you gave me a lot to think about, for myself, which is great. But it's interesting. So in the work that I do, you know, it's always through the lens of paid ads and growth and scale, but it really just boils down to marketing and scaling businesses. It seems a lot of people are not interested in slow and steady and predictable. They want that grand slam home run. And don't get me wrong, I want one too. I really do. But
but it's like winning the lottery. It's like, even if you get it, even if you make the money, if you have that grand slam home run, you don't know how to hold on to it, and you don't know how to grow it.
Yeah, that's a huge lesson. That's a huge lesson. So let's get back to the root of why I asked you that question, and I appreciate you opening up a little bit behind the scenes. So back at kind of like the height of my best business years, right?
Yeah.
The year that my agency was really taking off and growing. I had a great name, and I still have a great name, but it's very different today. I had a great name in the community. Referrals were coming my way. People wanted to work with me. I was asked to speak on stage at a marketing event. The same event where Brian Kurtz would talk. Mike Filsaime spoke. Rich Sheffrin spoke. Like, I'm in the green room hanging out with these guys. Like, shit was awesome.
Yeah.
And I gave a really, really great talk. And that's not just me saying it. Like, I got a lot of high praise for it. And this was 2017, 2018, I think. I stumbled on it last year because I still have a recording of it saved. And I found myself watching it last year or the year before going, who the fuck is that guy? And why am I not him right now? It was very interesting to see myself at a different vibration than where I was at the time.
Right.
I almost say to see where I am differently today. Because I am a very different person today. We started out the show talking about confidence. We talked about a little bit about how I said my kryptonite really used to be that my ability to earn a certain income or make money to pay the bills was very much tied to my self-worth.
Right.
That is no longer true. I have found a way to break free from that, and I am so grateful for that. And even as I say that, I look back and go, but Rory on stage was.
Right.
So it's fascinating to see that growth. And I don't know if I have a point other than I wanted to share that with you, that like, who the fuck was that guy from my past? Where is he? What happened to him? And how do I get back to that level of success?
Yeah. See, that's the thing. One of the biggest fallacies I think that that people get caught in is in your last statement, which is, how do I get back to it? And the answer is, you don't.
Yeah.
Is you don't ever get back to success. Okay, that's over. It's done with. That situation's gone and you have changed. And the question is, how do you actually engage with life in a way that's meaningful and that you enjoy right now, so that you can start getting better and better and better and achieve more and more success?
Yeah.
But you don't know what it's going to look like. You don't know exactly what area it's going to be. And it's probably going to be, if it really is success, it's probably going to be a little bit shocking, a little bit surprising, and a little bit unexpected. You know, not always. Sometimes you just buckle down and go after the goal and do that for 10 years or whatever, and that's fine. But a lot of times the best things, like, they come out of nowhere, you know,
Yeah.
they come, you know. And so I've been listening to a lot of my own hypnosis programs that I created 10 and 15 years ago. And so I like to think about it like, if I listen to a money mindset program that I created 10 or 15 years ago, my younger self sent this time traveling hypnosis session through the future to my older self to help my older self out. It's like, it's this really interesting time travel experiment that I like to play with, because I'm like, I created this for myself 10 years ago. What the heck? You know, it's really very, very interesting. Because some of the, I've been finding, when I was much younger, working with clients with hypnosis, I was in my 20s and I'd have people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. I'd be like, what are these people's problems? Like, I didn't relate to any of their BS. I was like, what are they talking about? Like, this is like, I don't relate to any of these issues, these idiots.
Yeah.
And I found myself very, like, looking down on people for the challenges that they were facing when I was younger. And now that I'm working with a lot of clients as I'm older, now it's different. Now I'm resonating with the problems and challenges that they have, because either they're problems and challenges that I've had and struggled with in the past, or they're like a fractal in some way, like a more amplified or a more exaggerated version of something that I'm dealing with, maybe in a different area of my life, or it's manifesting in a different way. So I'm now it's like every time I have a hypnosis client, I learn something about myself. It's very, very interesting.
That's fascinating. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Cool, man. So what is 1, 2, maybe even 3 habits, maybe just one, that you'd like to develop more within yourself in order to achieve a higher level of entrepreneurial success? Like whether it's rekindling something in the past that you had more of, or whether it's developing something more in the future. Like, what's an example of a trait, a skill, a habit, a tendency that would serve you right now?
That's interesting. I'd say so. For me, a challenge that I need to work on is patience in my own business. So, and we talked about this, right? So when I am running ads for clients, or I'm coaching and consulting clients, and again, I'm going to acknowledge something. When I'm doing work for other people, there's no personal emotional attachment to the project, other than it's a project. So I can be objective and calm down and just be like, listen, you have to have patience. This will work out. Yet with my own stuff, I'm not that calm. Even like, it literally takes me talking to an external force to remind me, slow and steady. It's data. You're collecting data. So I'd like to work that muscle, so it's just more an automatic habit, where it's just like, yeah, this is any other project. There's no emotional attachment to it. Damned that it's connected to my ability to generate more revenue for my company and income for myself. Like, it is what it is. It will be what it will be, and we'll get there. And I don't have a lot of patience when it comes to that.
Dude, the first thing that pops into my mind is a workaround But the first thing that pops into my mind is get an apprentice. And maybe it's someone you already know who's already learned some stuff from you. Get an apprentice and have them run the ad account. You teach
Oh
them
God, that's a fuck, dude. No way, that's a fucking nightmare. Oh my God, no.
Look at the resistance. Look at the fear.
Yep, nope.
Look at the fear there, Rory.
Well, hold on. I do want to be very I do want to be very I do very much want to be transparent with you. That was an intentional exaggerated response because that's what went on inside.
Yeah,
you're right. And what's fascinating, dude, I love that is like before I said patience, I was also competing with saying delegation. My agency at its height crippled because I did not know how to delegate. Forget that I didn't want to delegate. I didn't know how.
Right.
So delegation is definitely huge.
Yeah, it's interesting. See, I over delegate. And when I over delegate, then I don't focus enough on follow through on my own stuff. And then I become the bottleneck in the business. So like I got good at delegating just in order to have a successful business because I had a hard time with follow through on my own. Right. And so it's so funny. This is the different things that trip us up. Well, I'll delegate for you, Rory. I'll delegate to you and you can just do the work. How about that?
That's fine. That's awesome. That's awesome. So listen, this is great. This is good karmic energy, cosmic energy, whatever it is, things happening. So as you're asking me this question, what habit do you need to develop?
Yeah.
I got a text message on my phone from my business coach, a guy I've known literally since year one of being online.
Okay.
And I didn't check it until I was done talking and he very rarely texts me.
Yeah.
So when he does, like, it gets my attention. On the converse, which I text him all the time, and it's always shenanigans, always. But anyway, he literally said, "You need patience." So before I even said I need patience, my business coach texted me.
Is he watching this right now?
Yeah, he must be.
He probably is.
Yeah. It must be.
All right. So Rory, I'll hypnotize you to have more patience.
Okay.
Great. We're going to do a patience hypnosis session.
I'm hypnotized.
Great. Seriously. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow.
Awesome, brother. Sounds good.
Rock and roll. All right, dude. It's been about an hour. I think we should wrap.
Yeah, let's wrap. Let's go.
Awesome. It's time to stop procrastinating and get shit done.
Time to get shit done. Hallelujah.
That's right. Oh, dude, I had a silly realization.
Okay.
I have to run the numbers to be certain.
Yep.
But I don't think it's possible that I'm wrong on this.
Okay.
So for Overcome Everything, I've been selling Overcome Everything hypnosis stuff exclusively since like 2013.
Okay.
After I left the New Hypnotists.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's 10 years, right? More than 10 years, 12 years. And during that time, I've created well over 30 funnels that sold front-end hypnosis sessions for $7.
Yeah.
And they all had a bump offer.
Yeah.
And the bump offer gets about a 40% take rate. That's for $29.95. The bump offer is all the same on all those funnels.
Okay.
The Wealth Hypnosis Workshop. I think it's my single best-selling product.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were talking about doing workshops.
Yep.
And we were talking about doing paid workshops. I've never once created a sales letter for it. It's my best-selling product, and it's a bump offer.
Yeah.
How interesting is that?
That's fascinating.
So I think one of the workshops that we should do right away, maybe not the first one, but maybe, is the redo the Wealth Hypnosis Workshop. I have a 3-hour long. I sell it every day. I have a 3-hour long video. That I probably still have the old keynote. We could dust off and clean it up and redo it.
Nice.
Right. And run it through the model that Kurt has been sharing with us.
Fuck yeah, let's do it, brother. Let's do it.
It's all right there. So it's like it's already a proven seller, so
awesome.
it'd be a really good one.
Let's
All right, dude.
go.
Rock and roll. All right, so we need to get some time scheduled in to actually move this workshop project forward.
We do.
So I guess we can text about that and schedule something in for today or tomorrow or
Yeah,
something.
and to I was gonna joke and say yes, let's talk about it tomorrow. Ha ha ha, procrastination joke. But I'm gonna text you right now as we're wrapping up, so we can get something scheduled.
Sounds good, dude. All right, thanks for a great episode, and we'll talk to you soon. And if nothing else, then see you tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good, guys. Take it easy.
Awesome. Thank you. You know what time it is? It's time to get shit done. Rory's gone. Talk to you later. Bye, everybody.